Josefina Bonilla, and with us is Portia Lee. Portia, thank you so much for joining us. I know, I want to know about your center. What's going on in your center right now?
Sure. Well, currently, given the pandemic that's happening, I am open to see individuals. So I have scheduled one-on-one sessions and things of that nature. So that works in a variety of ways. We offer a lot of services through the center. So for myself, I primarily focus on energy modalities for overall emotional and physical wellness. And I also practice a couple of different types of therapies. And we've got a lot of other practitioners that practice with us, Michelle Tashi, Lydia Erickson, and a few others that, are still in practice.
So talk a little bit about the energy modalities.
Sure. So
when would I call you for what you offer?
Sure. The varying modalities that I practice myself. So I am a Grandmaster Reiki energy practitioner. And the reason that I'm a Grandmaster is because I hold a master in a couple of different modalities. My primary modality that I use is the Isui Reiki model, which is a Japanese Reiki model. And what is Reiki? Reiki is a way that a practitioner channels energies that flow universally in through an individual's body. And essentially what that does is it relieves the body of any physical ailments or emotional stress. Reiki is very big with cancer patients, primarily with cancer patients who suffer from tumors and things of that nature. They typically utilize Reiki as a subsidiary while they're going through chemotherapy and things of that nature. So that's Reiki. The other few other modalities that I personally offer, I also have a master in emotional freedom therapy, or better known as tapping and thought field therapy. So tapping, if you've ever seen it, it's an Eastern Chinese medicine modality where you tap into your body's meridian channels, and it allows your any emotions that you're feeling to be released. So if you're feeling grief or pain or depression or discouragement in any different way, then you can tap on specific meridian points within your body in order to release them. And I have a master in that as well. I'm also a naturopathic doctor. Although that is not necessarily my go-to, I do, I have specialized in anatomy and things of that nature. So I utilize all of these things when I'm practicing with my clients.
So you also, you spend a lot of time one-on-one with folks. Where are you spending the most time?
So in addition to those modalities that I offer, I also offer a couple of therapies. One of them is cognitive behavioral therapy. One is a system that I created called Akashic therapy. And the other is thought field therapy. So for the most part, I spend a lot of times on those three. I would say that my biggest clientele is wrapped around either Reiki or Akashic therapy.
So what do people know what they go to you for, or do you help them and guide them in the process of what they may need?
It's both. So a lot of my clients, so I have a lot of returning clients. I see most of my clients every 60 days or so. And most of the clients that have come to me for Reiki have had the experience before. And they just need to find, a practitioner that is consistent at a familiar location where they can continue going. For Akashics, which are a little bit different, it's a very spiritual process and very heavily guided spiritually. And typically when those things happen, people usually say, I was encouraged, or I felt called, I felt pulled to contact you for Akashic therapy. Can you explain more of what that is? And usually it's exactly what they need.
So I've done both, of course. But can you tell people that don't know about Akashic Records what that means, why they would want to go there, and what you offer?
Absolutely. So Akashic Records, now I do it with Akashic Therapy, but your Akashic Records are the repository. It is the story of who you are. It is your destiny. It houses all of the information that composites you. Essentially, the belief is that we are connected, and I understand, not everybody has the same beliefs, but I stand firm in mine because of the things that I've been exposed to, and the things that, I have exposure to with clients. I do believe in God. So the Akashic Records are like a link between you and God, and it just explains your story. It details your destiny. It connects you with who your spirit guides are, whether they be angels or loved ones or, ancestors and things like that. It'll connect you with those people. It will detail what you agreed to before you came here, what your purpose here is. And so Akashic Therapy is the reason that I do Akashic Therapy is typically when we come to a point in our lives where we're at a standstill, or where we don't necessarily identify what's the next step, or how to navigate any type of an emotional ailment that we're experiencing in a moment. Akashic is great because it will show you why whatever it is that you're experiencing, why you're experiencing it, and what you're meant to learn in that moment. So it offers a lot of relief for people who have the one-on-one sessions. Right now, I can say that given COVID, Akashic Records are the biggest piece of my practice right now, where before it was a little more of the one-on-one Reiki, but right now it is more Akashic therapy.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because with Reiki, you have to be with the person, right? And
You can do it from a distance, but from what I've experienced, most people would prefer the one-on-one. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would if I were doing Reiki. But with the Akashic, you can zoom in and you can have that sort of discussion. Where
Right.
this whole if I'm interested in learning more, where do I go?
So there are several places. I do teach as well. So I also, in addition to my practices and modalities, I teach in integral levels of, varying different practices. So I have a revolving, maybe twice a year, I offer courses and things of that nature to people who have an interest in it. Those have been pretty successful thus far. So I am a teacher. We have a very specific designated Reiki teacher. So I don't personally teach, I do teach children Reiki, but I don't teach the adults. We do have an adult Reiki teacher who is also a Reiki master by the name of Kate Sawyer, and she does teach out of the center as well. And then we have, a couple of different things. But what I do with my students is I put them through a process where they heal on their own, and then teach them the modalities to, then practice. So
Now, from what we talked about, the emotional piece is really integral in what you practice, right?
yeah.
You're kind of helping people find their emotional peace, if you will.
Right. So that's my calling. So if we were to, take a dive into my Akashics and, hey, what's your purpose? My purpose is to help from an emotional perspective. Although I can, do physical, I have a yoga master as well, and, different things like that. I can help with the physical therapies. But we were not taught from a Western perspective, we are not taught how to care for our emotional bodies and what our emotional bodies actually are. We're also not taught, and very much in the dark, that any physical ailment we have, anything from a cold to the most extreme chronic illness that we might carry, comes from an emotional perspective. So getting into the root of whatever it is that makes you you, to understand what your triggers are, to understand why your perception of life is the way that it is, and why you're experiencing life at any given level, is the key to overall wellness. So
wow. So of course, I am fascinated with more the Akashic records than I am with Reiki. But what I have found in my conversations with people, they don't know much about them. It's like,
yes. So Akashic records are becoming, Akashic records overall are becoming a trendy fad. I myself personally just have a natural ability to be able to do it. I thankfully was able to find a teacher that was able to nurture my tapping into the Akashics, and she was able to guide me through that, and she was able to help me tie the therapies that I already practice into what it is that I do. So which was great, and I don't know how many other people practice from a therapeutic standpoint, or an energy standpoint. But everybody's different. So let's say my strongest gift or ability is my vision. So I have the gift of sight. I also channel. So that combination will allow me to see and hear on any given point in time. But let's say you have another reader whose preference is symbols, or gets impressions of things and things of that nature. That is more of how that information would come across. Circling back around to your question about what would we say to people about what the Akashic records are. My personal practice is that I couple with your spirit guides, with whomever it is that is leading you, whether it be an angel or whether it be a Lord, whoever is there, your ancestors, it could be a grandmother, it could be a grandfather, and they deliver messages. I am not a medium, and I do have to, differentiate that. I don't practice mediumship. It's not a gift of mine, but Akashics are. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, so I just finished reading The Third Eye.
Oh, you did?
I did, and I found it fascinating because the connection with the Bible and some of the discussions around the creation of these, and you were talking about it, the emotional piece, how it plays into your physical body, and in this book it kind of lays it out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
fascinated.
Along my journey to learn more, because traditionally I have a background in business management. That's what I went to school for. My major was business strategy. So that was, what I was good at. From a logical perspective, I can strategize and put things together, and that was just what I did. But when I started to veer down this path, that was the very first book I read, was The Finding of the Third Eye. And it's so amazing to see, to understand things from that perspective. It really is like a very hierarchy, overarching, this is what your life is. This is what life is. And I don't know if you got the impression of the whole time reading it, like, wait a minute, I knew that. You know what I mean? Like, where did that come from? I knew that for some reason. Yeah.
Actually, it was really, there's so many places in the book that I need to go and get more information on. From talking about the yogis and Jesus and the breathing and the signs and the vibrations. I was really kind of blown away by all the different concepts.
Yeah. It's very, so Vera Stanley Adler, who is the author, I say to everybody, she was beautifully blessed to be able to write the book and articulate such high conceptual realities in such an intricate and understandable way, a relatable way. But yeah, it really does give you a great perspective on how and why, you know, we have this density where we come from, how you attain the tangible from an actual vibration. And it's, the book is like poetry, I believe. But
It's
it's an
really well written. It was written in such a way where I don't see a lot of writers. And as you know, I spend a lot of time with writers. And I was really impressed with the information in it. And I realized that I knew some things, so many things I didn't know, or I kind of suspected. It was just pretty, one of the best books I've read recently, in the recent past.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. But so that, you know, there are ways, there are, you know, there are things that you can do. I have a book out, So I Woke Up Now What, and that really breaks down your emotional body. I get into the nitty gritties of how your emotions turn into mental discomforts, and that's how I prefer to call any mental state of mind that is not in balance. I refer to it as a discomfort. So I talk about how your emotions drive those things forward, and why and how, where you store any of those emotions. So what happens to you if you've been abandoned as a child? Where are you storing those emotions within your emotional body and things of that nature? So there are resources out there.
Where can I get your book? It's on Amazon.
My book, yep, it is on Amazon, and it is also on payhip.com, which is, you know, more of a freelancer site that allows published authors to host their books as well. But it is also on Amazon.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just think that understanding. Yesterday we had Dr. Coleman on, and one of the things that she talks often about is knowledge. And if you don't know how to do it, this is the perfect time to go in and look for information. So in your quest for knowledge, if you're interested in Akashic or Reiki or spirituality and mindfulness, this is the time to really kind of explore that, because you're in a state of learning and in a state of gathering knowledge.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I do believe that in some, not in some, in every single way, if we look at the world stage as a whole right now, and we look at every single scenario that is playing out, in my opinion, that's what we're being called to do right now. We're being called to learn. We're being called to enhance our skill sets. And of all the things that I've been able to attain, so everyone says, how on earth do you have so many accolades? And I tell people all the time, I don't watch TV. You know, I don't watch TV. But I do believe that right now is a time for us to pause and just really figure out, to learn more, to explore more, and to really go get internal and understand who we are, what we are, and why, and really heal the traumas that as a collective, that the world has faced for a really long time.
So the name of your book is?
So my first book was So I Woke Up Now What? That was the first book. And that's for people who are...
Portia.
Yeah, yes. And the second book that will be out in a couple of weeks is called So I've Been Healed, Now Reclaiming My Power.
Okay, so now I have been healed, reclaiming my power. Portia.
Yeah.
So if I'm interested in gathering more information, aside from the book, where else can I get information?
So there are... my personal preference is an in-person class. So I like that. I do prefer to go to classes, which is another reason that I teach. But there are practitioners all over the world who are, you know, skilled within their master level and can help to teach the modalities. Within Day 7 Wellness Center, which is the wellness center that I founded, we do have varying different classes that would be able to help enhance an individual skill set. Now, let's say you're interested in different things. My sensei, one of my senseis that I relate to the most is Patricia Iyer. She teaches Reiki in Braintree, and I believe a couple of different locations as well. The person that I learned Akashic therapy from, Akashic records, the person that I learned Akashic records from was Nancy Smith. She is local within Massachusetts, but she travels worldwide. She's world renowned. She's won all sorts of awards and things like that. Now, she is a medium as well, in addition to tapping into the Akashics, and she's also an artist. So she'll draw the person that you see, or the person that she sees. And I've had the experience, I've been blessed enough to have that experience with her, and it's spot on. So, yeah, she's pretty amazing.
So, but if I, at this point, because I am not really keen on going out and meeting people, if I'm not interested in going to are there additional books that you recommend?
Well, Nancy Smith has a book called An Akashic Love Affair, which can also be found on Amazon. She also has a website, and I believe the URL is angelscapes.com.
Okay.
So I do recommend that. Of all of the exposure that I've had to the arena of Akashics, now that I, you know, am a well-versed and renowned practitioner myself, within the arena that I've had exposure to, she's the best that I've experienced. So I would definitely highly recommend not just her practice, but reading her book as well.
We have 1 more minute, so I want to make sure that people have your website, which is Day 7, right?
Day7wellnesscenter.com.
Day7wellnesscenter.com. And if people want to reach out to you personally,
they absolutely may. Day7wellness@gmail.com. Or they can reach out through the website as well.
Portia, always great to talk with you, connect with you, and hear more about what you're doing. So I look forward to having you again on our webinar.
I will be here. Thank you so much for having me, Josefina.
I'm going to call you right after this.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.